this is all about numbers, and believe it or not, most Americans are agreeing with the Democrats. A new CBS poll has 72% of Americans saying they disapprove of shutting down the federal government over differences on the Affordable Care Act, and 25% approve. Views of the Affordable Care Act are related to views of the shutdown, obviously. So those who like the health care law also overwhelmingly disapprove of shutting down the government, and there's more support for shutdown among Americans who don't like the 2010 health care law. So that's all pretty obvious. Is this just because most people believe in the Democratic agenda, or because the messaging actually has been better?
So I might be the contrarian here, but I actually don't think this is great news.
Really?
I mean, apparently Bill Clinton during his shutdown had 51% to 28% popular opinion on his side. This is about a 10-point margin that we're seeing now. And I think that part of the problem is things weren't exactly great a week ago for the American people. So to say we want the status quo and they want to make it worse isn't exactly the Democratic agenda or what it should be.
Yeah.
We should be saying they're cutting Head Start. We're fighting for a budget that increases Head Start. They want to cut public education. We want to give millions of dollars to schools to hire back teachers and make class sizes smaller. I hear a lot of process being discussed, and Democrats are winning on process, which is fine, but I think they could actually have a bigger margin if they would poll test a little bit.
Yeah, well, you like that poll testing now, don't you?
Yeah, now, so the problem there, Adam, is that the Democrats aren't for those positions, right? So, like, President Obama is happy to do this, what is in fact draconian spending cuts in this budget, right? And so President Obama always takes that as a bipartisan pat on the back and moves along. It's not like he really wants. Do you think President Obama wants more funding for Head Start? I think he's like really proud of cutting Head Start.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real tension for progressives right now because this is the blueprint for how to win. The question is, will he ever apply it for things that deserve winning? And you're right, like we are, the current spending levels are less than the original Paul Ryan budget, right? So we are winning a battle, but kind of losing that war.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
And we do have some more numbers for you. Yeah, most people blame Republicans in Congress, of course. 44% of Americans blame them. 35% put more blame on President Obama and the Democrats. And they're basically, those are the same numbers as they were a week before this all happened. Do you guys think there's any chance that perhaps because the Democrats are refusing to negotiate over and over, that in a weird way, the longer this goes on, the more it favors the Republicans? Because I am sensing a tiny bit of that when something happens like this NIH thing with the cancer kids and the silly World War II memorial thing being locked out, when the Republicans say, well, we were going to fund it, but they won't talk to us, or we were going to fund the NIH, but they won't talk to us. Does it start changing over a period of time?
I don't think so. Honestly, every time a story like that comes out, that makes the broader case that we need government.
Yeah. That's
not the core Republican message. That's hopefully the core Democratic message if they're actually progressives. So I think it actually helps our side. Every time the case for government is made, it's actually accidentally making a point that most Democratic politicians aren't making.
So, look, there's a couple of things here. Number one, people are saying, even if I'm against Obamacare, I'm not a radical. I don't want to shut down the whole government because I'm against it.
Right.
And I think a lot of common sense Americans think, well, okay, even if I was against it, I lost. Okay, so that it is what it is, and that's how politics works. You can't just keep demanding things after the fact, and this seems unreasonable. On the other hand, I think Dave is right that their tactic, which was poll tested and messaged of like they won't negotiate, is working. That's why Nancy Pelosi's finally figured out, and that's why I want to skip ahead to video 3 here. I want to show you guys. She was on TV this morning. Has figured out, oh, right, we forgot to tell people we already negotiated. We already gave away the House, right?
Exactly.
So let's let Nancy Pelosi tell us about that.
What will it take, Madam Speaker, to resolve this issue?
Well, it will take some coming together on the Republican side. It's very hard to negotiate with the Republicans when they can't negotiate with themselves.
I know, but they're saying the same thing about you guys, too.
No, it isn't. We have 4 times brought to the floor their bill and voted 100% for their bill, and they still won't take yes for an answer.
A good friend of mine said in any negotiation, both sides have to be willing to leave something on the table.
That's right, and that's why we agreed to their number, but which we don't like. We've always said to them, we'll help you procedurally, we'll help you substantively.
Do you see a scenario, though, where Democrats would be willing to give on a larger budget deal, the grand bargain coming back, and giving on entitlements so that we can move forward?
Well, the president already has in the budget that he agreed to in 2011. That isn't a happy scenario for our members, but the nonetheless, it was part of a grand bargain.
So unfortunately there, what we have is Democrats saying, and by the way, belatedly, like, don't worry, we already gave the Republicans everything they want. But actually, that's what I worry about.
Yeah,
right?
does anyone care? I mean, what she's talking about in layman term is the 2011 debt ceiling crisis, that they did negotiate to lower levels than they wanted. But at this point, does anyone care about that? Like, doesn't that get lost every day in the news cycle?
So what's getting lost, I think, is in the midst of this discussion about how the Republicans are on the wrong end of the poll numbers that we just gave, and how the Republicans seem like they're obstinate and unreasonable, et cetera. What's getting lost is how much the Democrats have actually lost on policy on this entire issue, okay? So number one, they said they wouldn't negotiate over the debt ceiling back in 2011, and they did, right? And then so you open up a can of worms, and you encourage the Republicans at every possible opportunity to say, I want more,
right,
and I'm gonna hold everything hostage. So then what did the Republicans do? They did exactly that. And then so as a result, the budget is, as Adam explained earlier, is now so low, there's been so many spending cuts, it's lower than the draconian Paul Ryan original budget proposal, which people, when he announced it, was like, oh, that's crazy.
Right.
We're now got more spending cuts. We've got less spending than what Paul Ryan wanted, the right-wing Paul Ryan. And now the Democrats are put in a position of bragging that they agreed to everything the Republicans wanted in spending cuts, but doing so late that the Republicans have still won the messaging war on how the Democrats won't negotiate. Oh my God. I mean, so when you look into the detail, the Democrats are in the details, and it doesn't look good.
Yeah. I think that really speaks to what I was saying before about the polls. You know, what was there in that clip for progressives to say, yeah, about it? There's nothing. It's
nothing.
like we negotiated with them before, we support a grand bargain that cuts Social Security, it's like, right? So you're a gambler. If you have a chance to win $100 and you win $10, you're winning. That's good that you're winning, but you've left a lot on the table, and that's what Democrats are doing in this fight with their messaging.
Right. So then is the issue here that they shouldn't have negotiated back in 2011, and then because wouldn't we have just sort of been in this situation then, or I guess that was before Obamacare, so maybe the leverage wouldn't have been as great.
So that's a great question, Dave. They should have. Look, should you negotiate overall in life? Of course you should, right? But it depends on the context. So if somebody says, hey, listen, I'm going to default on the debt, and America is going to be the laughingstock of the country. We're going to ruin our credit, and our interest rates are going to spike. Deficits are going to spike. We're going to ruin the world economy. Yep. You don't negotiate then, right? That's not when you negotiate. You say, well, that's illegitimate. If you want to do that, you will destroy your own party. But I'm not going to take part in that, because if I encourage that, it's going to lead to a Pandora's box of terrible things that are going to happen. And President Obama made that mistake. He negotiated with them at that point, and we got the Pandora's box.
And this gets actually to an original mistake he made, which was to tie his personal brand to the idea of compromise. Right? Once he did that, he sent a signal to Republicans that you never have to give me anything. Always ask for more and more, because I need you for my success. So that's why I actually think, again, on process terms, this is great. The fact that he's finally saying, I'm not going to negotiate, severs that bad tie, and hopefully it's a blueprint for future victories.
I got to say something about it, because that's such a good point. And he did that from day one. He said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change Washington, and we're going to get along. Yep. Now, that played into the Republicans' hands perfectly, because the Republican strategy has been for the last several decades, never give an inch. Don't give any ground, okay? And the Democrats will come to you. And they have for the last several decades. Even Bill Clinton did, right? Until they pushed him to the edge on the government shutdown, right? So now here they're like, this guy's even better. And if we don't give an inch, he automatically loses by his own definition. Because he said that he was going to bring us together. Well, if he doesn't bring us together because we won't go an inch towards him, he lost. It gave all the incentive in the world to the Republicans to be obstinate. What is the end result of that? We're in the end result right here, a government shutdown.